'Twas on a Monday morning, the gasman came to call. The gas tap wouldn't turn, I wasn't getting gas at all. He tore out all the skirting boards to try and find the main, and I had to call a carpenter to put them back again. Oh, it all makes work for the working man to do. 'Twas on the Tuesday morning, the carpenter came round. He hammered and he chiselled and said, "Look what I've found. Your joists are full of dry rot, but I'll put them all to rights." Then he nailed right through a cable, and out went all the lights. Oh, it all makes work for the working man to do. 'Twas on a Wednesday morning the electrician came. He called me Mr. Sanderson, which isn't quite the name. He couldn't reach the fuse box without standing on the bin, and his hammer went through a window, so I called the glazier in. Oh, it all makes work for the working man to do. 'Twas on a Thursday morning the glazier came along, with his blowtorch and his putty and his merry glazier song. He put another pane in, it took no time at all, then had to get the painter in to come and paint a wall. Oh, it all makes work for the working man to do. 'Twas on a Friday morning the painter made a start. With undercoats and overcoats he painted every part, every nook and every cranny, but I found when he was gone, he'd painted over the gas tap and I couldn't turn it on. Oh, it all makes work for the working man to do. On Saturday and Sunday they do no work at all. So 'twas on a Monday morning that the gasman came to call.
Edinburgh, capital city of Scotland. In its busy streets, people go about their daily lives, their eyes looking ahead or down, but seldom up. They move through the city, their minds focused on its shops and offices. But above their heads, sometimes far above, is a part of the city not seen by those who never look up. It is a place inhabited by people of stone and creatures of legend. Between street level and rooftop, these buildings are decorated with fine examples of the stonemason's craft and the sculptor's art. Some are details, designed to ornament and embellish what would otherwise be bare walls. Others are major works of sculpture, placed here to impress the onlooker with the wealth and the cultural credentials of the owners of the buildings. Here in Princes Street, just below the castle, is the Royal Scottish Academy, the city's best-known art gallery. Built between 1822 and 1836, its north-facing pediment was crowned in 1844 by this seated statue of Queen Victoria by John Steele, her robes draped so as to give a general idea of Britannia. The pediment is carved with classical motifs. Pity about the wire netting, but Edinburgh pigeons haven't yet learned to respect works of art. On the walls are these wreaths and other fine carvings, and the roof is home to these sphinxes. To the east of the Academy, we come to one of Edinburgh's best-known landmarks, the Scott Monument, a building that positively bristles with finely carved stonework. Scott died in 1832, and funds were raised for this Gothic monument, designed by George Meikle Kemp and built by David Lind between 1840 and 1846. There are 64 statuettes in the niches around the monument, representing various characters in Scott's novels, as well as 16 Scottish poets. There are also minor pieces of a purely decorative nature. This statue of Sir Walter, with his deerhound Maida at his side, another design by John Steele, was placed here after completion of the monument in 1846. Moving north onto Queen Street, we come to the National Portrait Gallery, built between 1885 and 1890 of red sandstone from quarries in Dumfriesshire. Its walls are copiously decorated with statues depicting figures from Scottish history. On its east-facing side is this trio of Queen Mary, flanked by Bishop Leslie and Maitland of Lethington. Public buildings like these were, of course, designed to celebrate art and literature, so it's perhaps not surprising that they should be decorated with works intended to make us look up. But the same passion for decoration is evident in commercial buildings from the 18th and 19th centuries. In particular, banks and insurance companies also wanted us to look up at their buildings. This George Street building dates from 1847 and was originally the headquarters of the commercial bank. Designed by the architect David Rind, the style is Greco-Roman and the building is fronted with fine fluted columns and Corinthian capitals. The pediment above sports this array of high relief statues carved by A. Handyside Ritchie. The central figure denotes Caledonia, who is flanked by prudence, agriculture, commerce, enterprise, mechanical science and learning. At the same time as the commercial bank was constructing its impressive office, along here at St Andrew's Square, the British Linen Bank was working on this remarkable edifice, once described as being like a fragment of ancient Rome. The columns on the frontage are again of Corinthian design, and the capitals are richly decorated. The architect here was David Bryce, and the statues on the parapet were again carved by A. Handyside Ritchie to represent similar themes, in this case navigation, commerce, manufacture, science, art and agriculture. Looking at these buildings, it seems clear that their designers and constructors intended to impress upon us their wealth, power and sense of cultural worth. And in these times, if you wanted to impress, you had to do it in stone. In 1892, the Prudential Assurance Company wanted to build their new office here in St Andrew's Square in the red brick typical of their English branches. They were given a flat no. If you want to build here, you must build in stone. They were allowed red stone. Stone was a material readily available from quarries around the city and from further afield, and there were architects, designers, sculptors and masons well skilled in its use. Masons would cut and place the stones to build the walls. Others, with finer skills, would carve details such as these borders with their rectangular blocks. The more skilled would carve the capitals and motifs in the friezes, as well as figures like these cherubs. And the artist sculptors would create the statues. It was through the use of stone as a material and the skills and artistry of these craftsmen that the owners of the building were able to create in us the impression they wanted. One of the most striking examples of this outlook is perhaps the Jenners Building, a well-known Edinburgh landmark. Originally established in 1837 as Kennington and Jenner, in 1863 Kennington died and Charles Jenner continued and developed the business, growing its national and international reputation. Sadly, on the night of November 26, 1892, alarm was given of a mighty fire in Princes Street. Jenner's was burnt out at a loss of £250,000. When it came to rebuilding, Charles Jenner wanted the business rehoused in a manner worthy of the company's reputation and its position in one of the world's finest streets, so it had to be built and well decorated in stone. On Monday, May 6, 1895, a striking new building was formally opened and immediately took its place as one of the finest of its kind in the city. Its walls are festooned with ornamental stonework, and its numerous statues look down silently on the bustling traffic in the streets below. The carving over the main entrance declares the company's establishment in 1837, to remind you that you are entering a store with a long and impressive history. Just above, balconies at the first floor windows are richly carved, and these bow fronts are decorated with coats of arms. And similar patterns are repeated in the floors above. In the angle bay of the tower are skillfully carved and pleasingly draped female figures in national costume representing Scotland and England. In the bays fronting Princes Street are similar statues representing Ireland and France. And on the St. David Street side, the figures are meant to be typical of America and Germany. This splayed corner was borrowed from the Bodleian Library in Oxford and rises skyward to an octagon with flying buttresses, and is in itself a most impressively carved and decorated structure. And just for good measure, to the west of the octagon are these windows fronted by sumptuous balconies and flanked by caryatids that would not look out of place in ancient Greece or Rome. And finally, looking down on it all from the roof above, are these dragon-like creatures. Charles Jenner wanted his newly rebuilt store to impress his customers, be they the citizens of Edinburgh or from farther afield. He certainly succeeded. The Jenner's building has been aptly described as a wondrous compilation in pink stone. It is probably the richest example of decorative stonework anywhere in the city. Up here, there are fine pieces of stonework you could spend all day admiring. Maybe there are similar examples of decorative stonework in a town near you, but you will only be able to see them if you look up.
Hello, Hawick. You owe me a drink.
No.
Oh, I'm sorry, I was only joking. I was intending to buy you another. Oh, what's your poison?
Look, it's okay. I've had such a terrible day today.
What happened? What happened?
I lost my job. My family have thrown me out. And my wife's left me. And you've just drunk my poison.
Your poison?
The Solway Junction Railway. By the early 1860s, over 100,000 tons of iron ore was being shipped annually from West Cumbria to Scotland. The Solway Junction Railway was built to carry this traffic without having to pass through Carlisle. To avoid Carlisle, a spectacular viaduct was built over the Solway. From Bowness-on-Solway to Annan in Scotland. This linked the Maryport and Carlisle Railway with the Caledonian Railway in Kirtle Bridge. The viaduct opened in September of 1869 for goods, and for passengers in July 1870. The viaduct was 1 mile 176 yards long and 34 feet above sea level. In its construction, there was 2,900 tons of cast iron used and 1,800 tons of wrought iron. Problems with the viaduct first appeared just 6 years after the opening of the route, but disaster struck in the winter of 1880-1881, when the rivers Esk and Eden had frozen in the upper reaches of the Firth, and when the thaw came, great chunks of ice as much as 27 square yards and 6 feet thick were carried into the bridge piers on the ebb tide, travelling at 10 to 15 miles per hour. Fortunately, there had been no loss of life, although 45 of the 193 piers and 37 girders had collapsed. It was to take more than 3 years to rebuild the structure. In 1895, the Caledonian Railway had taken over the line, and for a brief period this spectacular crossing carried goods, passengers and livestock daily. The iron ore traffic declined, and during the First World War passenger traffic was withdrawn. All traffic ceased by 1921, owing, it was said, to the unsafe condition of the viaduct. It was dismantled in 1933. Apparently, part of the reason was that the Scots, who had no access to alcohol on a Sunday, used to walk across to the liberal English side and returned in less than a sober state, occasionally falling into the Solway and were drowned.
Ah, your food's rubbish. 3 years of bloody food poisoning.
Come on! We'll get some decent breakfast somewhere.
Aye.
Oh, here, wait a minute. Must phone Shuggy Flynn. Aye. Wonder if he's still ringing cars.
Well, I spoke to his brother in D Hall the other day. Big time now, you know. Specialising. Don't know what, but he's specialising.
I'll try Flinny now.
Aye, okay.
Uh-huh. Right, okay. Flinny's away in Germany. On business. His big Betty is Bidey in answered. Oh, Flinny's into the big time. Drugs.
I don't like the sound of that.
Anyway, she says she'll take a wee car, 3-year-old. Well, Polish don't chat to 3-year-olds so quick. Aye, and she's prepared to pay up to £400.
Well, look, there's one over there. It's a wire edge. That looks okay.
Aye. Oh, you cunning sod. The screws have spent 3 years looking for that.
Johnny, I'll pick you up by the exit. Over there. Do a watcher, eh?
Okay. Well done, Billy.
Are we taking it to Big Betty's now?
Aye, sure thing. She lives somewhere near Castle Milk, but I'll get her a phone when we get near. In the meantime, let's find some place to eat. I'm starving.
This is just like old times, eh?
Sure is. This looks like a good place. Right, come on, let's get a full civilised breakfast after all that prison garbage, eh?
Right, well, the chocolate should get that.
Here, you away and find a seat and I'll get the grub, all right?
Sorry.
Oh, look at this, Billy. Here we go, eh? There we go, son.
Excellent.
Is that no great, eh?
Class.
You know what? Been waiting for months and months for this, I've.
Imagine.
Aye, let's get stuck in, eh? Aye, great stuff, eh? What?
A wee honey bun, that.
Oh, aye, her of a car. Oh, come on in. Let's get finished up and get home. Oh, here, listen, we'll take the back roads, eh?
Hey, is that bird from the cafe? She's broken down.
Quick, draw in. We'll help her.
Oh, it's you. Can you help me? It started to make funny noises and then just petered out. There's plenty of petrol in the tank.
I'll wait and see if you can start her up.
This is a fancy dashboard, though. What's this for?
I don't know. I don't have the handbook with me.
No handbook.
I only acquired the car yesterday in Perth, and I'm desperate to get to Glasgow Airport for my flight to London. Can you help?
Well, we need a minute to discuss, lady. Billy.
What is it?
Listen, I can fix that fault. Now, you take her to the airport in the Astra, right?
Yeah.
And then on the way, she can phone the garage to send a mechanic. Well, by the time he gets here, I'll be long gone.
So Big Betty might get 2 cars then?
Correct. Don't worry. I'll stay here with the car. Well, I'll save it being vandalised or stolen. And this place, it's full of characters on the move.
I quite agree. But how are you going to get home?
Well, I'll hitch a lift with the mechanic.
Thank you so much.
Well, well, if it isn't our old friend Johnny Black. Going up market, Johnny, aren't you? Mercedes?
Oh, Detective Inspector McPhee and Detective Sergeant Reed. Well, long time no see, eh? Oh, it's all right. I'm just doing the lady owner a favour. She's away to London on the plane. Just waiting for her mechanic to come. He'll be here any time now.
That'll be right. This is the Chief Constable's personal car.
Eh?
And it's just been reported stolen from the City Mills car park this morning. Talk your way out of that.
Oh, no! Oh.
Hello, I'm looking for some fairy cakes.
Yes, of course. What kind would you like?
The ones with chocolate cream.
Chocolate cream?
Yes, please.
Chocolate six.
Yes, I would do
Thank
lovely.
you.
And could I have some Empire biscuits as well, please?
Packet of six again?
Yes, that would be fine.
Lovely. Thank you.
And as I came in the door, I picked up these caramel tarts.
Yes.
I'd like a packet of
Lovely.
them
Thank
as
you.
well.
3.91 then, please.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Nice.
Lovely. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Take care.
Those cakes look nice.
I got them in Irvings on Castle Douglas.
They're just like the ones we used to get at the farm shop.
That's probably why Irvings are called the home-style bakery.
I wonder how they can do that and still make so many.
Well, let's find out.
Well, this is an overall view of the bakery. As you can see, they're all busy. These are apple tarts that are in front. Now these are the mixers that we mix all our biscuits with, because they're spiral mixers, not the ones like your Kenwood chefs. And the actual bowl goes round. The beater stays still and the bowl goes round the whole time. And this is sponge mix, which would be mixed in one of the other mixers, which are a bit like your Kenwood but only bigger. That's a toffee pot boiling for toffee tarts, and that's your Hobart mixer, which is the same as your own Kenwood mixer, which has got a beater, and the bowl stays still and the beater moves. This is them putting the biscuits in the ovens. Our ovens are all gas, and they take 4 trolleys like that at a time. They're a bit like your fan oven at home. They turn all the time, so your biscuits are evenly cooked from top to bottom, and work with timers, which are a bit like the school bell going off. And this is her coming to take them out. You just time them to whatever time they need for them. They'll be pulled out. And that's them ready to cool. That's shortbread that's been cooked, and then it'll go down and somebody will come and sugar it. So 4 wraps will come out at the same time. This is them weighing the sponges out. It has a slight weight thinner on it, and it'll pump out exactly the weight of each sponge. And that's the fairy cakes as well. That's the same things. These are gravity-fed machines. They work with airline, and she'll just pump these out, and they'll be all the same weight. And this is them working with the fairies, which is a lot of hand work because we don't have machines to do all these. So they cut the tops off and put the icing on and put the tops back on them again, just the same as you would do at home. And this is the girls doing the sponges, and they're all hand done as well. Icing in the middle and jam and icing and then putting the top. So we have a lot of hand work. You could get a machine to do that, but by the time you put machines in, it wouldn't be. Not for the amount that we're making. And these are a recipe that's just in the books as well. Exactly the same as you would make at home, but on a bigger scale. This is the biscuit line. Well, once the biscuits come out of the oven, they all come through to this part of the building, and that's the jam going on. Somebody puts them on the end of the machine, and the jam goes down through a mixer, and then the icing goes on, and then somebody puts the jubes on top. And why we put jubes on is because it lifts the packet up, the cellophane of the packet up, so it doesn't stick to the icing. And this is the other packing line that we have, and these are the big empires getting packed singly, which are labelled top and bottom, and it does all the packing, and that's in the main bakery. These are the meringues. We make meringues every night, and they're in the oven overnight. And these are the labelling. Everything's labelled with all the ingredients on them. This is the other parking line where everything comes through, and that's Fruit Squares that's getting parked at the moment. That's Millionaire's Shortbread coming through. We park about 1,000 parks of these a day. This is our shop, which is in part of the building, and we sell everything that we make is in the shop, and we have quite a busy shop, quite a lot of customers, and we're open 5 days a week and half a day on a Saturday. Our deliveries go out and we go up to East Kilbride on a Tuesday. They go to East Kilbride to Sainsbury's Central Distribution, and that goes up to Aberdeen. Deliver to Ayr on the way up and then to East Kilbride and back down by Moffat. Wednesday deliveries go to Carlisle. Thursday deliveries we go around all the village shops which we started with and we still supply, and you'll go right down to Lockerbie and right up as far as Kirkconnell and back near Money Eye. Friday he goes as far as Glenluce with a big delivery, and that goes all into Ayrshire.
Well, that was really interesting, and I enjoyed the cakes.
So I see.
No, another stray. I've told you before, you can't keep bringing it with the house. We don't have the room, and they make too much of a mess. Look, leave it there and come in and get your dinner.